The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, download the Living Zen-podcast app for iPod, iPhone, and Android. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by becoming a part of our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at zenwest.ca and click on Become an Associate. Many more Zen Talks are available for purchase on iTunes and Amazon.com. Just search for Venerable Eshu Martin. These talks are also available for free on our website to all members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. Many people come to engage in Zen practice or Buddhist practice because they hear about enlightenment or awakening. And looking at their life or their experiences, it's often the case that somebody says, oh, this enlightenment or awakening is something that sounds really good, something that I should have. And so they look up a place to go and meditate so that they can have this enlightenment experience. When we do this, we just transition a habit that we are continuously practicing throughout our lives. We just transfer it from a material form into a spiritual form. And what I'm talking about is this idea of understanding ourselves as somehow being fundamentally incomplete or lacking. And we do this from the time that we're really quite young. And we, each of us has our own personal Achilles heel of inadequacy. And we go about our lives looking for ways that we can complete the circle. When we're young, we're told what we need to do to be successful, what we need to do to be satisfied. And for many of us, this can be things like getting a certain kind of job, or making a certain amount of money, or having the right kind of car, or having a wife and children, or a partner and a family. All of these things we can pursue with the idea that when we have these things, when we finally catch these things, we're going to have this feeling of completion, of fulfillment. Finally, we're going to have this sensation of satisfaction, of having enough. And for the first time in our lives, we'll be able to let go of this feeling of lack, this feeling of deficiency that seems to drive us all through our lives. But what Zen points out, what Buddhism points out, is that this fundamental desire, this craving that we have, it's two-sided in the first place. The first is that we crave to have the things that we feel like we don't have, that we're missing. But we also crave to be rid of the things that we feel diminish us, or that we shouldn't have, or that we don't want. So each of us in our lives is driven continuously by these two forces which are rooted in desire. One makes us chase and pursue, and the other makes us run, avoid, and try to escape. Now, each of us has had many successes in our lives. Each of us has accomplished some of the things that we've pursued, or obtained some of the things that we have desired. And so, by this point in our lives, even if we're just 12 years old, we have enough experience in our own life to know that this feeling of satisfaction, of completion, that comes from acquisition is short-lived at best. It seems like no sooner do we accomplish something than we begin to worry about its breaking apart. I've got the new car. Please, I hope that nobody hits it. I hope I don't get in an accident. Oh, I've got this wonderful new relationship. I hope nobody talks to them that's better than me. But this is how we tend to go through our lives, chasing after things that fundamentally we can't keep, thinking that we're going to find our completion in external things. And so eventually, maybe we get tired of pursuing physical things, objects, relationships, jobs, money. And we say, I'm so tired of the material world. I want to go and do a spiritual practice where I can become enlightened, where I can have this awakening experience. And then, for real, I'll be complete. I'll be satisfied. We have to understand that this is already a mistake. This is just moving this habit that we have that keeps us in this place of suffering, just into an intangible world, that world of spiritual practice. All of this difficulty comes up from a single belief, something that arises very early in us as human beings and is encouraged and reinforced by our experiences, by our culture, by our society. And this belief is that we are somehow separate, that somehow the I that stands inside this body is completely distinct and separate from all of the things that are outside this world, my environment, and my relationships. And when we believe this, really deeply believe this, and base our actions and our life on this belief, there is no other way to see it but that this self, this I, is missing something. The perspective of Zen is that all things in this vast cosmos are intimately related. They are one. We are one. We arise and face one another, but we arise from a single source, just like waves on a single ocean. We can talk about distinction. We can talk about differentiating qualities, but we only do this in a very temporary way. We recognize the temporary nature of specific manifestation, that things arise and they dissolve. As we sit, as we engage in this practice, as we do these simple activities of seated meditation, walking meditation, chanting, what we are offered an opportunity to do is to allow this self that arises that sees itself in distinction, cut off, and separate from the world around it. We allow it to loosen, to soften. We allow this self to dissolve so that we can experience what it is to be immersed in activity with all other things in this vast cosmos. We can do this, and indeed, most of us, if not all of us, have experienced this at some time in our lives. We all remember it because it's a powerful experience. As we're walking, or as we're making music, or as we're driving our cars, or as we're riding our bicycles, painting, making love, we have this experience of two things, subject and object, which until this moment we've taken as being separate entities. And we have this experience of unification in which the thing that is doing and what is being done unify into one. We can't name this. We can't identify it. We can't even, when it's happening, we can't even look at it because we're so intimately involved. But the nature being an activity, we can't stay there. And so, inevitably, subject and object, I and other, appear. And at this moment, we recognize, we acknowledge, we say, oh, something wonderful happened. But too often we just write this kind of experience off as an oddball thing, or, oh, how mysterious. That was the wonderful experience of art, of love. I was in the zone, we say. And according to the teachings of Zen, this experience is the experience of unification. It's an experience of realizing, immersing ourselves in the completeness of the full activity of this cosmos. For most of our lives, we pay total attention to the plus manifestation side, the side which emphasizes distinction, the height of the wave, the breadth of the wave, the strength and force of the wave. Focusing on who we are as individuals, what that is as an object, how we go about moving. But this is just one side. And Zen practice encourages us to experience what happens when these two subjective things, subject-object, meet, unify, and dissolve into one another. To carry the metaphor, we ask to experience what it is to know the depths of the ocean, what it is to know from whence we come, to know our nature, the origin. So when we talk about awakening in Buddhist practice, it's not something that we possess. And it's certainly not something that at any point in our life we don't possess. It's not something that we lack, that we need to catch, or to have, or to get. It's not something that we can hang on to or own. We use this word awakening. We wake up to the activity of this cosmos as it is. What's going on in each and every moment, in each and every moment we arise anew. In each and every moment we return to the source, we die. Over and over and over again, in infinite variety, there is nothing other in this vast cosmos. We engage with this practice, with this realization, in a very formal way in Zen practice, repeating very simple activities so that we can really focus not on the ideas, not on the conceptual understanding of this activity, but so that we can experience this dissolution and arising taking place in the depths, in the midst of our lives, in each of our activities, at rest and as we move, paying attention to this activity of arising and dissolving, so that as we go out into the world, as we go out and make relationship, as we go out and move through various environments, we can no longer look at ourselves as distinct, separate, isolated objects, bumping up against other isolated objects in an environment which we're separate from. We know through experience that we are one. We awaken to our nature, which is the nature of all things, one true nature. And this experience cannot be lost. It cannot be taken. It cannot be held or contained or caught. This is our nature. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.